to Simpler. We are three pastors, husbands, and fathers on a journey to make life simpler by holding Jesus as the core for every belief and practice. This journey has shaped us to be more like Christ, freed us from the shame of failure, and encouraged us to a deeper love of our Lord and God. We invite you to join us in the discussions that have shaped and continue to shape our lives.
I've loved seeing these memes because it's always been kind of the meme every year in the crypto culture of like, what are you going to talk about at the Thanksgiving dinner? There's all these memes about like, because usually, I mean, there's usually 3 years of bear market.
Yeah.
And so it's usually the memes of like everybody making fun of the crypto guy at Thanksgiving, like, how's your crypto doing this year? And then this year, it's all the memes are all somebody walking in like a baller. My dad, who has no idea about crypto, is just trusting me. Right. Put a chunk of money in like February or March. He's up over 100% on his investment.
It's wild. In
less than a year.
Yeah.
I said that to him the other day. He was like, what? I still think there was a part of him that was like, this is probably not going to work out so good.
Yeah. I was talking to my cousin a few weeks ago before everything started jumping up and just talking about investments. And he said, because I asked him, because he told me about Bitcoin. I've shared that story on here a long time ago. So I was like, you still holding? Like, where are you with that? And he like rolled his eyes and he was like, please don't get me started on that.
Oh, he sold it.
He sold it all. He made money, but like when I think it was around COVID time when things started like tanking, he just kind of cleared his crypto.
Oh, he hasn't had it that long.
No.
Okay.
And so, I mean,
that's when I started buying.
I mean, he had to have got in whenever my grandma was still alive, which would have been, I mean, Bitcoin was around in 2016, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he had to have had it at that point.
Oh, okay.
So
he did buy in a long time.
Yeah. And then he sold it all around 2020. So he still made money.
So he sold in the last bull market.
Yeah. As soon as it started going
all
down,
of it?
yeah, he like cleared everything.
And he didn't buy it back when it dropped?
No.
Let's go back.
He told me, do what?
No, go ahead.
He told me, he was like, yeah, I just realized like with how I enjoy investing, like I just have more fun with these types of investments than I do with this one. He was just like,
that's a justification so you don't feel so stupid about selling all your Bitcoin.
It's funny because I talked about Ada and he pulled up the charts and he showed me like the different ways to read different crypto charts and different investment charts and stuff like that. And he showed me the points of resistance and different things. He's like, man, he's like, if it follows what Bitcoin's doing, he's like, you really know like things are like going really well for Ada. He's like, that's really exciting. And he was like, I just don't know if I want to put any money into it. He texted me the other day and he was like, man, FOMO is really hitting me hard right now.
Because I've had multiple conversations in the last few months, like especially prior to the election, where people were like, yeah, I probably should put some money into that. And then multiple texts after Ada went up 75% after the election within like a week. And people were like, oh my gosh, dude, I should have. I'm like,
well, how do you think the guy feels that bought the 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin in 2010?
I know, right?
Like he'd be a billionaire.
Oh yeah, that's what it says. Yeah, in 2010, he's all like, "Hey, check me out! I've just bought 2 pizzas with Bitcoin. It was only 10,000 Bitcoin." And now he's like, "Crap,
that's insane."
Those 2 pizzas are gone.
Yep.
Yeah, those 2 pizzas cost billions of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah. I like my favorite chart seen lately is the
Your favorite chart?
My favorite chart lately is the clean one. Just kidding. Chart is the one that shows the house price to Bitcoin.
That was crazy.
So like I think it started in 2012 is when the chart
there you go.
showed like how many Bitcoin to the average house.
Yeah.
And it went from like I forget how many, thousands of Bitcoin.
Thousands.
Now it's like 4
4
Bitcoin.
or 5.
No. Yeah, 4 Bitcoin, something like that. Maybe less. Anyways.
Yeah, I know.
But that's what I like. It's like,
that's wild, man. We found a video that was essentially explain crypto to me as if I was 3 years old.
Is it the cartoon?
Yeah, it's the cartoon where he's like walking through. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh, and I said to Hannah and she looked at me and she goes, that's good. Just a couple 30-year-olds being like, oh, hey, this is good to know. Thank you for walking me through that.
There will be, I bet in 10 years that people will be like, maybe sooner, but for sure in 10 years, people are going to be to me like, dude, I wish I'd known about this earlier.
And you're going to be like,
I told Cammie last week, I was like, I think I'm done. Like, I think I'm done, like, trying to...
You gave up on me?
I'm done with you, yeah. I think I'm done, like, trying to convince people that this is a good idea.
Yeah.
I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I'm like, if someone wants to know about it, I'm happy to tell them, but I think I'm done like trying to encourage people because
Yeah. I don't blame you.
it seems like a pointless endeavor.
Yeah.
You've been my unofficial financial advisor for about 12 years now.
And look at
Get
you
into
now,
real
dude.
estate, get into crypto. I told Hannah, I was like, look around you. We need to thank Micah for all of this.
Well,
And
no,
she was like,
you're
you
the
were-
only one that had the nuts to do it.
yeah. That's what she said. She was like, we don't have to thank Micah for everything. I was like, okay. I took a step because I had a friend who encouraged me to take a step.
You were the one who I gave you these like lofty dreams and you were like, oh, I see the path to get there. And you just did it.
Yeah, that's cool.
You had the nuts to do it.
So I'm thankful for you, Mike.
That's a great segue.
Yeah, there we go.
It's our 5th annual Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody listening and watching.
Yeah, because we started this in 2020.
Oh.
Isn't that wild?
Whoa.
Yeah.
So we started May 2020. Next month, we hit our 200th episode.
Wow.
That's crazy.
You guys are old.
No doubt.
Yeah, so for everybody listening and watching, what we do the week of Thanksgiving is we just kind of have an open conversation talking about the things we're thankful for. Maybe they could overlap from last year. They could be specifically to this year. So we just talk about life and talk about what we're thankful for and walk through that. So thank you for joining us. I want to encourage you guys as you're listening and watching, if you think of different things that either God has taught you or things been happening in your family, job, whatever it could be, shoot us a message, leave a comment.
Okay, I got an idea. Let's do something specific with that.
Okay.
What if you do a post this week? Simpler post on all social media platforms. And then if you're listening, if you do us a favor, comment back to that post specifically what you're thankful for that you've learned from the Simpler podcast.
There we go. Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
We would love to hear your thoughts.
It'll be cool, I think, to see everything compiled.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Or if it's something that you hate about it, like comment on that.
There you go. Yeah.
This isn't Hatesgiving.
So Facebook, Instagram, go over there, leave a comment. And if you don't have either one of those, you can do that on like reviews and stuff like that. But
YouTube, just put it on YouTube.
Oh, that's
comment.
true. Yeah. Put it on YouTube comment wherever you are. So yeah, I'll put up a post this week. Go leave a comment, and we'll read a few of those, which would be really exciting to see.
We will probably start posting on X in 2025.
Yeah, we'll get that going. So one of you guys want to kick us off for our thankfulness episode?
Sure.
We all looked at Ryan.
So this year was just a more mentally, physically exhausting year.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was Simpler Bible. So Colin and
that
I,
was a lot.
It was. Yeah. Colin and I started recording that in December last year, the first week of December last year. We finished the first week of October this year. So we spent 10 months recording, plus all the outlines and the writing and the blogs, which I'm still not quite finished with. And Colin was like, so, hey, you going to finish up those blogs? Because like right now I'm like one day ahead on the blogs.
Gosh, dude.
But I was like, dude, just been swamped. But he spent and I spent an extra probably 20, 25 hours a week on that. And so it was another like part-time job kind of thing.
I can't imagine having to spend 20 hours a week with Colin.
I didn't have to spend 20 hours a week with him, but that's how much work each of us were doing on the project.
I'm going to hear about that one.
Yeah. So
Colin's like, I'm never giving you guys Dr. Pepper ever again.
We got to in August and September though, where we were recording like 40 episodes a week.
Wow.
To try to, we didn't want to be finishing like the last week of December. We wanted to have a couple of months off because we're planning 2025, what we're going to do for 2025. But I don't know that I was really thankful for Simpler Bible during the process of creating it. I knew that what we were making mattered, but like it was a lot of extra work. And it's probably the single thing in my life that I have put the most effort in. Like, I mean, not talking about marriage or kids or stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, but like, it was a long project. And now that I've had like a month and a half to kind of sit being done with the recording part of it, it's been a real blessing to just see how it's being used and how it's encouraging people. I heard, as you guys know, a couple of weeks ago from a family out of Bentonville, Arkansas, that have no connection to us at all, don't know friends that have friends of us or anything like that. And they saw one of Colin's 30-second clips from one of our episodes a few months ago and started watching Simpler Bible as a family. And I've been really thankful. Well, honestly, I was thankful to Colin because like a year ago when I had the idea of writing kind of like a Bible study for my boys, like I was like, I want to help people understand the Bible. Well, I was like, I want to help my boys understand the Bible better, but kind of give them an overview of it. And Colin was the one who said, we need to make videos. And I was like, no, it's just for my boys. And he was like, no, we're going to do videos. And so like, I'm thankful to Colin for having the vision for that because I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
And I would not have ever dreamed of doing this without him. And I'm thankful for.
Y'all are such, I mean, it's such a great pair, like a duo, because of how you think differently about those things. Like
he was amazing, man. He was really amazing. And so I'm grateful that it's being utilized, that it's encouraging people. The number of people who have come to me, I had somebody come to me a couple of weeks ago and they said, man, I had to listen to the Sermon on the Mount, which is 6 episodes because we broke up chapters 5, 6, and 7 into 2 episodes each. They said, I listened to it in one sitting because I was just like, they're like, it was crazy. Like thank you, And so that's been really encouraging. It's nice to know that something you loved and cared about and put that much work into was a blessing. So I'm really thankful for the way that turned out. And thankful that, I don't know, like, I mean, I've been doing ministry for almost 30 years and I want to continue doing ministry. I want the things that we're doing. I feel like we talk frequently about the ministry that we've had at the 456 and it feels, I don't know how it feels to you guys, but it feels to me like people are catching it finally and that lives are being changed and it feels like people are being encouraged in their walk with Christ. And so it's kind of just nice to see that like this 30-year journey. And for us, Micah, you and I have 22 years of friendship, and then now the church for the last 15. Like, I don't know. It's nice to see that we can. I don't know. I just want to be used of God, and it's nice to know that I'm not a Balaam's donkey. That it's like I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that God would use me. And I know that might sound super arrogant and self-congratulatory. I don't mean it that way at all. Like. I recognize that, like I was just reading through Thessalonians yesterday, and I was writing a blog behind schedule as normal for Colin, and what Paul says about the Thessalonians is that their faith was so impressive that they served as an example to the people in Macedonia and also Achaia, and that people were walking with the Lord because of the example of the Thessalonians. And if you go back and you read Acts, Paul was persecuted, like blatantly persecuted in Thessalonica. So there's this strong persecution against Paul, and I would imagine by extension, a strong persecution against the believers in Thessalonica. And yet the believers in Thessalonica are like, man, we're gonna walk with the Lord. And when you read all of Paul's letters, most of them are like, you guys are idiots. You're in sin. Why are you being so wicked? And to the Thessalonians, he's like, man, I got nothing bad to say about you guys. You guys have loved the Lord well, and you're setting an example for Macedonia and Achaia, like this whole chunk of the world. Yeah. And as I'm writing that, I'm just thinking like, God, like I'll use my life like that. And so it's, I don't know. It's like, I just want to, I'm grateful for what God is teaching me. This goes back, I guarantee you, I said this last year, though I can't remember for sure. Like the last 2.5 years have been really shaping years for me. And I feel like God is growing me at a rate that I've never previously experienced. And it's, I feel like my, you're gonna love this. I feel like my spiritual growth is like Ada lately. And, I don't know. God has, there's a peace that I have that I don't feel like I've had before. There's a comfortability in God that I don't feel like I've had before. Not that I've been overly anxious, not that I've been like distrusting of God, but there's I I don't know how to explain it. There's a richness to my relationship with God that I feel is fresh.
I have a thought on that.
All right.
I think that God had been moving us, but specifically you, towards kind of where we're at now for a while. And I kind of in retrospect think that there was some tension. Like we had a heart for where we knew God was wanting to use us in ministry, but like didn't feel like we were quite being used that way yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're like not there, like we've arrived and we're done. But like I think that it's what you said a second ago. Like I think God is using you in a way that has always been at the core of your heart, but it wasn't being utilized probably in its full potential yet. You know what I mean? Like you go preach at an event, which has an amazing impact, but you have no relationship continually with those people.
Don't get to do life with those people.
Right. And you've always had the heart of a shepherd.
Yeah.
And now you're getting to shepherd people on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Which is what you meant earlier by like, it's been a lot this year. It's because there's more people.
Yeah. Yeah. I do care for people, and it's been nice to be able to do that. You know, Kirkland and I had a conversation the other day, and he was saying about us, like the three of us at this table, and him as well, and the 456. He goes, the way that I see it, and I loved this perspective, is he goes, San Angelo is my home. I agreed with him. I was like, this is where God has us, right? And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, like, I want to be a catalyst, an encouragement for the church in San Angelo.
Yeah.
Not meaning the 456,
right.
but meaning the believers.
Right.
Yeah, we want to minister. Like this is the place where God has placed us. This is the community. And so San Angelo, Cristoval, Merced, Erie County, like these communities that are in this area right here, like we want to be, like we want to serve these people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm seeing that more clearly than I've ever seen it. I'm desiring it more than I've ever desired it. I'm watching, I'm super thankful for, it seems like my boys are catching what it means to really know the Lord this year.
Cool.
Like they seem to be growing. Like, I don't know, man, it's been a blessing. And I don't know. Life, if you picked up my life and compared it to last year, I'm sure that it looks very much the same in terms of the day-to-day stuff. But I'm like giddy. I'm like excited to see what comes next and what God is going to do in my life. I've learned some key things this year. There were several things this year that I've missed in the scripture previously for 30 years. And like one of the big things for me that I'm still super excited about is the Sermon on the Mount in the section that we call the Beatitudes. Like all but one of those can be tied directly to an Old Testament text that foreshadows basically the coming of the Messiah. And you're kind of able to see that like what Jesus is doing is he's like giving these one-liners that are connecting these Jews, his Jewish audience, back to all these texts. And like, that's exciting for me, like to like learn new things and to continue growing. And so I don't know, Michelle is always a blessing to me. She is always a blessing to me. And I'm thankful for her. We'll be married next month for 18 years. And that's crazy to me. Like,
and you're super old.
I know, man. Yeah, I'm.
You got married when you were 40, right?
Yeah, basically. Felt like that, but I don't know. Micah, you mentioned before we started here, and I think you're right in this that we wanted to mention our friends Matt and Landra, and. So Matt is our friend. His wife, Landra, 37 years old, died very suddenly a week ago. And I got to tell you, for as hard as last week was, and it's not going to quit being hard for a while. Yeah. I have been amazed by Matt's proclamation of Jesus every step of the way. Every step of the way.
Yeah.
And I am thankful for people like him who, in the midst of unimaginable suffering,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times has he said to us this week, or did he say at the funeral, that she was his very best friend, and that he was hers, and that, like, what an incredible testimony that has been.
Yeah.
I know that's been a testimony. I've heard other people say, like, I can't, like, even the chaplain at the hospital sat down with us and said, I don't have the kind of faith that husband has. Speaking about Matt, like, just, I'm thankful for Matt. I'm thankful for the way that I'm thankful for the person that Landra was.
Yeah.
And the way that she loved people. I mean, my goodness, the number of people who showed up and were like, we were so loved by her. And I don't have any high school friends that would show up at my funeral. I didn't have high school friends, but she has people who have been her friends her whole life, who she loved and she cared for. And I got to tell you, like, that was shaping even for me. Like be a little bit more like that, like be invested in people a little bit more. I tend to kind of be invested in people only on certain terms, you know? And, but just an incredible, beautiful testimony. And I know that Matt and the kids, I know that their life will never be the same, but I am incredibly grateful for the testimony of Landra's love for the Lord in every single thing where Landra has been talked about.
Yeah.
Her love for the Lord has been talked about. And what an incredible legacy. I mean, I've said this before. I've been to and done a lot of funerals in the last few years, and the number of obits and the number of funerals that I've been to where no one mentions how the person loved Jesus or cared about Jesus. And you couldn't get through 5 minutes of hearing about Landra without hearing about how she loved Jesus. And so I'm thankful for people like her. I'm thankful for people like her husband, who in the wake of unimaginable sadness, I can't even fathom it. I'm thankful that he has clung so closely to the Lord, and that will be the example he sets to all of his friends and to his kids and to his family members, that even in the midst of this, that Christ is still worth knowing. Like, just, I'm challenged by it. I'm shaped by it. And I'm thankful for, like, Matt's my friend. Like, every single person that I met over the week and at the funeral, every single person was like, oh yeah, I've known him since we were 12, or I've known him since we were 15, or I'm like, I've known him for like 3 years. You know, I was the shortest out of all the people, like, but I love that dude, man. And
you were the shortest? I thought Josh Holbert was there. Shortest time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josh.
But I have really loved becoming friends with him. Yeah. And it was funny because the day that Landra died, before she had died, that Sunday afternoon, we saw each other because we had our church Thanksgiving, and I had made the comment that something about friendship. And I said in the sermon, I was like, yeah, I joked, and I was like, I don't have any friends, you know, like, I have people who hang out with me and put up with me. And Matt that night at supper said, man, I nearly stood up and said, no, we're friends. And I believe that, like, we are friends. And so it's been hard to watch my friend hurt, but it's also been, you paid him. Thanks.
No, I'm just kidding.
all of my friends are paid to be my friends. That's probably fair.
We have the friendship fund at the church, and it's just to pay the people to be your friend.
That's a secret budget. You don't know about.
What's this line item on the budget here?
You don't have to worry about it, man.
Why is your youth ministry budget so big? You don't use it all.
We have to pay people to talk to Ryan. That's probably fair.
He's like, I'm thankful for everything except for Micah and Pierce's friendship.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I would be seriously worried if my friends didn't tease me. I would.
Well, if I don't tease you, I probably don't like you.
Well, that's what I mean. I would be seriously worried if my close friends were not teasing me, because I'd be like, oh crap, now something's wrong with me, and they're like, but I am thankful for the Stanleys this week, and just their example in life and death of Christ. And it's, I don't know that will quit being heavy on my heart. I mean,
no,
like, Matt's in our sphere. He's in our circle. Like, we're going to see him week in and week out. And so like, that will break my heart for my friend for a really long time. But I am so grateful for the way that they love and point to Jesus. So those are some of the things I'm thankful for.
So springboarding off of that, I think that this is going to sound super cliche, but I'll explain it. I've always been obviously thankful for Jesus.
Yeah.
But I think you I may not see it different, but it feels different with the death of someone close like Landra.
It does.
And so I think that like when I say I'm thankful for Jesus, it's not just an abstract idea.
Mm-mm.
Like when we were singing at her service,
Dude.
I was telling Matt, I was like, that's the difference is I'm not singing songs with like the abstract idea of when it says like 1,000 hallelujahs, there isn't time enough for us to sing of all he's done, but I have eternity to try. Like that's, it just hits different, you know? So it's when I say I'm thankful for Jesus now, I feel like I'm saying like there's some kind of emotional connection with the death of someone close like that. The same thing happened when my mom died, is like you start to realize the joy of the life you have in Christ that can't be stripped away through circumstances of life. And it doesn't mean, Matt and I were talking about this, it doesn't mean it hurts less.
No.
But there's this hope that can't be shaken inside of you.
Correct.
And so I think that it's probably not that I'm more thankful for Jesus now than ever, but I think there's a different depth of feeling of saying I'm thankful for Jesus. Cause I think even before Landra's death, I think I would have run headlong into persecution and been like, I would be the first person to die probably.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely would.
Yeah,
because you're really mouthy.
Yeah, I know. Just tell everybody about how I got kicked out of the ICU a couple days after that. Got kicked out by the charger. Just like, anyways. But after hearing all the testimony about Landra, especially when Matt read the notes,
she was a woman like laser focused on the person of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It made me go, because Landra, I feel like Landra and I share kind of a perspective of we're not really concerned about what other people think.
Yeah.
That was obvious
when they're talking about how she loved to dance and sing and she couldn't do either. But she didn't care because it was her joy.
Yeah. She was, But it made me go like, it's like it spurred me on even more. Like I'm ready to face, whatever the world brings, persecution that comes, like let's go, because you can't shake me.
Yeah, it's the martyrdom of Stephen that caused the people to preach more boldly. It's Paul being in prison, and you had people preaching more boldly for him or against him, but they were preaching because of his imprisonment. Like it's there is something to be said about that. That when we see someone who loved Jesus well, live well for Christ, and to the point of death. Yeah. Right? It emboldens you.
Yeah. That's a good way of saying it.
She's like the Thessalonians. We saw her faith, and it stirred up our faith.
Yeah.
And that's 100% it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what.
How can you not be stirred up?
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. And I know that's Matt's hope, is that people 100%. Would be stirred in that.
Well, somebody visited our church the day after her funeral because of her and her funeral and what was being said about her.
Yeah.
Like they were like, I need to know more about Jesus.
Yeah.
Because of Landra.
So cool. It's so cool. So thankful for Jesus in the awful circumstance of Landra, of her dying and going to be with Jesus. I think is as much as we will miss her and mourn for her loss and hurt with Matt and the kids as we move forward in this new phase of life for them, I think it's also something I feel as, it's a good way of saying it right now. I think it's like spurred me on in my faith. Personally, man, it's been a super fun year family wise, lots of changes, super thankful for the joy of my family. I feel like, I've always told people like, I don't really feel as old as I am. I know I don't look as old as I am. I'm not even old yet, but because I'll always be younger than Ryan. This makes me feel good.
We'll never be old.
If he's the standard, yeah. But like Seth leaving for college, Aiden getting prepped for college. I got two boys that are basically adults now.
Yeah.
And that, it's funny because people, I think, have always told me it's like it's a whole different phase of life. It doesn't feel like a different phase of life for me. It feels like just another
day.
thing. Yeah. But it's been kind of like a fun process. Like getting Seth ready to go. Even stupid things like he's driving my 2008 Tahoe. So getting him ready to go in the Tahoe was like fixing all the things I could fix on it before he leaves, and then praying as he drives home. I drove him there in the Tahoe, and then rode back with Cammie. But like when he came home a few weeks ago for the first time, like praying, like, God, please, like just selfishly, I don't want to get a car hauler and go pick up the top, like, so even stuff like that, like it's kind of fun. It's kind of like an adventure, He called me the other day. Actually, he called me while we were setting up for Landra's service, which I was going to ignore it. Then I was like, wait a minute. My son's calling me from A&M. He doesn't just call me usually. So, so I was like, something's wrong. So he was like, my car won't start. So anyways, he got it worked out. It was super simple, but
good.
But yeah, so that's been fun. It's been an adventure. Aiden, getting him prepped for his next phase. He's wanting to be in real estate investing. So he's actually going to start working on his real estate license in January when he turns 18. Try to get that done before he graduates. That way, while he's in college here at ASU, he can kind of start working in that world. So I'm super thankful for like the joy of all the things we're doing in family. Grayson being in middle school now has been fun to watch him like awkwardly grow, like physically and as a person. And then especially watching him grow in music and worship and in his relationship with Jesus.
That's
Like
cool.
I can't wait to see him start leading worship more like that. That's like that's super fun for me. And then Hayes, man, it's been fun to watch him be the completely different kid from my other boys. Zero interest in athletics. He just wants to be an artist, basically.
Heck yeah.
And that dude can freaking write. Like he'll write about things he's feeling, and I'm like, holy crap! Like the way he's describing it.
That's cool.
Like I don't know if you guys know this. My dad's dad was a scriptwriter, movie producer in the Philippines and in Vietnam. Apparently, he died before I was old enough to remember, but apparently he was like really good and a really famous guy. So it's in the blood somewhere, in that DNA somewhere, and Hayes got all of that, I think. None of my boys got that, but it's been fun to watch. So super thankful for family. And then Cammie, I think one of my favorite things is like Cammie is a people pleaser like you, Pierce. And so like I think she always is thinking about other people first and probably doesn't feel the value that she has. Like she was joking with one of the boys a couple months ago, and she was like, literally, I feel like all I do is feed you boys. And they were like, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of what she does. But I told her, I was like, obviously you're not just feeding them, right? You're caring for them, but like, that's such a big value in their life. There's so many young kids who grow up without a mom that's able to do that. Like what a joy it is to be able to say like, I get to care for my kids like this, and what an impact it's having on their life. So it's been so much fun to like watch her. She loves our boys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Loves them. She gets job offers, like people asking like, would you consider taking this teaching job? And the reason she doesn't want to take it is because she doesn't want to be away from the boys. She doesn't want to have to miss sporting events. Yeah, that's probably a huge part of it. She loves sports, so she's like, I'm an athlete. Yeah. She loves football more than I do. Like I'm pretty
her dad's
sure.
A coach.
Yeah, so she grew up around it. I'm pretty sure Seth got a ticket for the game this weekend, the UT A&M game in A&M, and I'm pretty sure if Seth was like, you know what, I'm not gonna go, I think Kim would be like, give me your ticket, I'm going.
Yeah.
Like she loves it. So man, it's a blessing to have a wife and kids who love Jesus and be able to do life with them like that. So that's been super fun, and I'm really thankful for what God's doing in our ministry at church, like the lives that seem to be more focused on Jesus probably than before, and none of us were ever after anything with church planning.
No,
there was no goal of like, we want to have something big or noticeable. We still don't care.
It's why people for the first like 9 years told us we had failed because we didn't look like we had accomplished anything.
No, they didn't tell us. They didn't tell us we had failed. They told you we had failed.
Yeah,
because they knew they couldn't tell me that without getting
kicked in the nuts
or something. Yeah, but like I think what's so cool now is this heart. It's what I was saying to you earlier, Ryan. I think this heart that we've had forever. To be used by God in ministry in this way, like we're starting to see the fruits of that. We're starting to see people's lives shifted and focused on Jesus. We're not ever going to be this flashy church who has like notoriety across the world. None of us can freaking care about that. What we want is we want people in their individual lives to begin to go more and more like Jesus is the whole point.
Yes,
it's it. And let that be the influence in how they live their entire life. And I think we're starting to see that now. And it's been such a joy to watch. I was telling you, Ryan, on Sunday, like no matter what happens with the church moving forward, like we're going to keep doing what we do,
right?
Regardless of what comes.
Yeah.
If we've said this before, if we went back down to 50 people, we would do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Nothing's changing. We're going to keep doing what we do because that's the heart God's given us for ministry. So super thankful to be doing ministry with you guys and at the church. And I've been super thankful for all these people who've joined us in this, even from some shepherding roles. Like it's been fun to have Kevin come on and kind of be part of this with us. I didn't realize this till you said it, Ryan, that at Landra service, that's the first time that me, you, and Kevin have done something together.
Yeah.
It's always been like two of us.
Yeah.
But not ever have the
big three.
The big three all back together in one place. That's a funny story. So super thankful for the ministry. And super thankful for what 2025 is going to hold with crypto.
Agreed. Yeah. Ryan, you had said earlier, actually both of you guys said this, like in different ways of just, there seems to be a newfound thankfulness for the Lord this year. Throughout the year, I think one of the things is, I guess the best way to say it is like, kind of what you said about singing songs the other day, Micah, of like, Christ is real and has always been real for us who've put our faith in him. But this year it's felt more real. I don't know how to say that. Like,
I think that's fine. Like,
like golly, I didn't know Landra well. I'm thankful. I've always been thankful for them as a family, and I remember being a part of the BSM and just like seeing them two in the distance all the time, and just knowing that they were a part of things and always plugged into things. And so to hear the testimony and the clarity that was given from my perspective at her funeral, and knowing her and her family, but also knowing the lives that they touched 12 years ago. When I'm thinking about college and just thinking about how I was just a dumb idiot, and thinking about like the impact the Lord was having around me through people that I've shook their hands once. I've been in a room with them at some BSM party holding a brownie. Like I like thinking about how powerful God is and how beautiful his people are and how humility just does wonders. Cause they're a couple, they're individual prior and then as a couple submitted to the Lord, just who opened their hands and said, God, use me.
Yeah.
And took the gifts that they had and just ran with them faithfully and joyfully too. Seeing people like actively live out the freedom that we have in Christ and enjoying the work of the kingdom.
Yeah.
And it didn't like every testimony wasn't like she had to do this and we, to be a good Christian, we got to do this. It was just joying the Lord and enjoying the love of him. And so singing, I forget the song now.
You've already won.
Golly, dude. Like, I don't know what you're doing.
Did you hear us say that's the song that was on her phone when Matt pulled up her phone?
So he had mentioned one of these songs is that. And I was going to ask which one it was.
Yeah.
But the line, like, I don't know what you're doing, but I know what you've done. Recently, this whole year, I think freedom and trust has been one of the things that God has been like just really implanting in me. Like, let's talk about the freedom of the gospel. Let's talk about the freedom that we have in Christ. And recently, just through own contemplations and working through the scripture and different things, trust has become a big question of just like, as I talk to people, I want to ask like, okay, sure, you believe, do do you trust Jesus? Do you trust that what he says is true? Do you trust him in your day-to-day? I had a conversation a week or two ago at the church. And actually, it was so funny because that's one of the things that I've just been contemplating of, like how to interact in ministry, how to interact and how my language of discussing the Lord. And she said, this girl at church said, I think I've always believed, but I don't know if I've ever trusted Jesus. And I was like, oh, okay, God. So you're doing something like, actually, that's something that I've been really praying about and thinking about a lot recently. Let's talk about it. And I think, I don't know if this is all fresh for me. But I think those are both things of like freedom, like walking in freedom and having a trust and security in the Lord. Like those make it more real. Like this isn't just us teaching or talking about it. Like this is living life.
Yeah.
And we've never done ministry that way. It's like, as long as you know the right things to think and the right things to say and the right things to do, like we know that we've known that the truth of the gospel and the change that it brings means day-to-day lives and actions are changed. We've known that. That's just something different this year.
It feels different.
It does. It feels different this year. And it honestly could just be the Lord just
growing,
solidifying us. Yeah. Like those roots. Those roots are deep, and he's been pouring into us and changing us within the community that we have, and then extended into our families in the 456 and these things. And God's been working and pushing us. And I think we've kind of over the last couple of years, just like joyfully, like really grabbed on and said, like, God, we're with you. Like
it's a good way to say it. I wonder if it is the outpouring of the roots. Like maybe for years, there's this foundation being built in us. We'll call it roots.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like being like, we're able to like see that impact in people's lives and walk with them through that. And maybe that's what we're feeling is that it's not, I feel like maybe it's the same as like singing a song at Landra's service versus singing a song when Landra was alive or any death.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't believe the words, I don't know what you're doing, but I know what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
But it sure does feel different.
It does.
When you're in a situation like Landra's death, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's what you're saying is like, it's the foundation's there, but now we're able to experience the emotion of it because we're doing life with people in a way that we're seeing that being poured out, like how people are going, things like, what you hear all the time, Ryan, like Dan last year, Dan and Debbie, telling me, I know he told you guys this too, like he's been a Christian for so long, but had never really recognized the joy of the freedom he has in Christ to just live life for the glory of God. He always felt like he was contained by this law mindset of how he's going to live. So I think that's it. It's like,
that's a good point.
Is we're actually like experiencing that with people. And that's, I think, why it feels different right now.
Yeah. That's a great point. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for like within that kind of specifically, I'm thankful for over the last few months, the growth that we've seen in the young adults group, just,
cool.
And not necessarily number wise. Like I feel like we were, it would go from like 1 to 5 for a long time. And then we've been averaging now probably between 5 and 10. So like not huge number jumps, but just like seeing people come into our house and not only feel comfortable in their environment, which is one of the things that me and Hannah have just been praying for, being able to have a home that people can just come into and just be there and be encouraged and be loved, but also seeing people like just actively enjoy community that we have in Christ and knowing that it's a safe space. Like we had a conversation a week or so ago and it was just somebody sharing where they are in life and naturally, I think in a group setting, a lot of people like feel the need to give some sort of advice or some sort of comforting word. But it was as I was just sitting back and listening to this and like and just kind of trying to figure out the best way to lead the conversation, I noticed that like these were two people who probably a few months ago, I know a few months ago they wouldn't feel comfortable in that room, but they were just sharing their hearts.
That's cool.
They didn't need advice. They needed their community. They needed to be able to talk about the stuff they were going to. And they were like, I don't really necessarily have a point in bringing this up. I guess we just want prayer.
Yeah.
I guess. Awesome. And as I was sitting there, I was like, you know what's funny is at least I shouldn't say we, but like my past in ministry, I've felt the need to be like, okay, let's take whatever that is and let's counsel and let's give advice. Let's go to the scripture. Let's do all these things. And there's a time and a place for those things for sure. But in that moment, they just needed community and just to sit in the truth of like, we're family, we're family. And you just wanted to get that off your chest. And parts of their story was silly. And part of it was just heartbreaking. And it was just like, they were kind of like, we don't know what to do. We just know we want to be lights for Christ.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's what we know we want to do. And so it was cool for us to be able to encourage our friends and be like, man, your marriage is a testimony for Christ because of what you just said. Like, look at your heart. Like your heart is just, I don't know, but I know we love Jesus and I know I want you to know the love of Jesus and like to pour that out. So I was talking with Hannah the other day and I was like, we've prayed for like this type of community for a while. Like God's been working on my heart of just like, just showing me what community is and what it can be and the beauty of him working through that in his people. And I guess you're right, kind of Micah, is like working through the roots and kind of seeing the fruit of these things happen, seeing it at the 456 and now within our own home of just thankfulness to God to working in that way and being able to utilize us and honestly, like being able to be a witness of it. Like,
that's right.
Like, cool. I think one of the things that God has been reminding me of since I was a BSM leader was something you had mentioned earlier, Ryan, of just like being utilized and how humbling that is, that God would use us as his vessels, that God would use us and God would, we could be entrusted with that. As we love others, as we proclaim his word, as we teach, as we counsel, as we shepherd, as we lead, as all of these things. And it's humbling to know that the God of the universe who breathed everything in creation says, okay, I'm going to use you now to glorify my name. I'm going to use you now to love others. And I'm just thankful. I know. Yeah. So yeah, I recently been really humbled and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for back to Landra. I'm thankful that the testimony of her life and witnessing Matt proclaiming Christ in the midst of pain and suffering has been such a catalyst for a lot of these things coming together that God has been teaching me and leading me in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like, it feels like it brought it all into focus.
And a lot of conversations between Hannah and I, a lot of thoughts and prayers. A lot of, since last week, just sitting on my back porch, looking at the stars, being heartbroken, going from heartbroken to smiling to prayer to singing,
isn't that a weird thing? I think there's that, it's weird because in the midst of the pain, there's also a sense of joy.
Absolutely.
You know, I think one of the things that just made me think about this when you said it is, it's made me realize, I'm thankful for the moments that we still have.
Yeah.
With people here. And and I think I'm hoping I know that's what Matt was hoping that everybody would be reminded of.
Well,
from Landra's life is that you got to treasure the moments.
Absolutely.
Answer the phone call, return the text. It's I don't know what this week's will be like for everybody. I know that some people don't enjoy being with their family. It's stressful this week. I know that other people are doing Thanksgiving with friends. Other people are just doing something on their own or whatever. But whoever you have in your life that you value, that you adore, like just take a moment to thank God for those people who have loved you and have cared for you, that you've had the opportunity to love and care for. And be thankful for that. Be thankful for the moments that you've shared and the memories.
Austin was telling me, we were talking at Landra's service, Austin Woodruff, about he was thinking about his job and how he could grind and make a whole lot of money and have a lot of stuff. And he goes, it was the episode you guys just did on the role of the husband, and it made me realize, like, I mean, I think he was already leaning this way, but he was like, there's more value in doing okay.
Yeah.
But then value in the time, the moments I have with my wife and kids, and that, like, that's it. And it's not. I don't think it's a money issue.
No,
I think it's a value issue, right?
Yeah.
What do you value?
That's something that you say a lot. You talk about the value system, and I think it's a really great way to frame those kinds of discussions, because it doesn't matter if it's money or health or whatever. Like, what's your value system? What's the thing that you value? And like Austin and Lindsay, they came. They were in town for her dad's birthday, and they came to my art show opening last Thursday night, and And they said they'd been trying to get my attention for a while. They were kind of like they kind of kept trying to get in my eye line so I'd see them, And so
You're
finally,
like, Austin, stand up.
yeah. So finally, they just kind of like waved at me. But dude, it was they're such a blessing. They're always an encouragement to see. And it's funny. That's cool to hear you say that he's like, man, but I would have never thought anything other than that for Austin.
No, he's
like,
been on that track for a long time. It was almost like, I think
Just
he would have made that decision anyways, but it's like, sometimes I think you need that encouragement.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Just that reminder, because the reality is, especially for believers immersed in maybe a culture that's a non-believing culture, your workforce isn't necessarily made up of all your Christian friends.
Right.
It's easy to kind of hear what everybody else is saying as what's valuable, and that just kind of seeps its way into your head. And so it's good to be reminded, like, oh, wait, I don't have to value what everybody else in the rat race is valuing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and just to have that kind of be confirmed in you again. Because sometimes the world is, all the time, the world is going to value something other than Christ. And we're so inundated with those messages so often that it's easy to get distracted.
100%. Yeah. Which is, I think, a great reminder that we have to value the moments.
Yeah.
To treasure the moments with our family and with friends.
Yeah, I'm. This when I feel like I'm tagging it on, but I'm also thankful for my wife.
We cut you off before you.
No. You're
you
totally. I'm thankful. That's what I say. I'm thankful for you guys adding that stuff. Speaking of thankfulness, yeah. So I think being a husband and a father this year, I think it goes back to as well of like us being pastors. So it's like the humility that I have of like, man, I'm entrusted to love my wife, to love my kids, and to just to pour into them and to encourage them and to take advantage of these moments. And one of the things, Micah, that you talked about earlier about Seth, of just like, from your perspective, like not necessarily seeing adulthood as like, or going to college as like a different section of Seth's life. It's just flowing into it. That's kind of, I don't know if you've talked about this a lot when we first started hanging out, but that's also a lot of my perspective as well. And I think you shaped a lot of my perspective of what it means to be a godly father. But I think that's one of the things you mentioned as well of just, I think we just talked about how certain people get caught up in the baby phase or or this phase or that phase, and just how let's just do life and let's just walk through it. And that's been a lot of my perspective as well. And it was like last week, Riley said something about being 5 soon. And I was like, well, like in 6 months. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like am I still treating you like a 3-year-old? Like it made me want to be more intentional with like where she is right now, because she's at a place where she can have some more responsibilities. I know that we're there, but like put up your plates or like help out with this. And it's not like I have to make you do chores, but like
unload the back of the truck with all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. Got a bunch of firewood out there. Just gonna take it in there.
Pick up that side of the refrigerator. We need to slide it over a little bit.
Right.
She did show me her muscles.
She's pretty strong, man.
And what I loved is she was showing me her muscles the other day, Micah. She's flexing, and she goes, and when I'm 5, I'll be this strong. And all she did was get more intense.
Lean back.
And she made her face like all squished up, like more intense.
That's
like,
awesome.
oh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But just being more intentional with that. And same thing with Adeline. Like, and I'm thankful for I'm thankful for the little things with the both of them, that I can get lost in Adeline's eyes and we can just laugh with each other and hang out. I have no idea what she's talking about, but we can just sit there and enjoy one another as long as Hannah's out of the room. If Hannah's in the room, Adeline doesn't care about me whatsoever. But with Riley, like what you had said something a while back, Micah, when I was being serious about dating, and you had talked about
before you're married to Hannah.
To set back a while, to go back probably a decade. You had mentioned something, and I forget exactly how you said it, but you were like, basically, as you're pursuing a wife, as you're engaged, even as you're married, when your wife's in a room, let her feel like the only person in the room, like the only person that matters to you. And I've strived to be, to love, to just cherish Hannah. And one of the ways that has bled into kind of my thinking of a father as well is that I will so often be in a conversation or be doing something on my computer or doing something, and Riley runs in the room and she screams, "Dad," and she'll run to me. And I found myself for a few months being like, yeah, just 1 second. And as I'm doing this, and I thought, screw the computer, screw that conversation. If I'm talking to another adult, they'll get it. I'm going to get on my hands and my knees and catch my daughter as she jumps into my arms, because that's what she'll remember every single day.
You know what? That's so huge, man, because in the culture, like people my age talk about this all the time, how kids were relegated, no, this is the big people time. Like you can't be in the living room because the adults are talking, or you have to just sit there and be quiet or whatever.
Yeah.
And this idea that you were just not important, you have to wait your time. Now,
exactly.
And for us as fathers, like for us as husbands, our first ministry, for us as pastors, our first ministry is to our families. And we all are convinced, like we look at all the requirements for the overseers in 1 Timothy 3, and I think all of us feel very strongly that like if you can't manage your household, you have no business managing the house of God. Like that one for me is very telling, because for whatever reason in our culture, people seem to excuse that one all the time. Well, he's a crappy husband and father, but he's a great preacher. No, he's not. Like, and so I think that's awesome, dude, that you're like, no, this is my girl.
Yeah.
And what's sad to me is like, I'm enjoying my moments with my boys, because like Asher, who's 15 now, he's
tall,
dude.
He's tall.
He's half an inch shorter than me, and he's coming for me. He tells me all the time, he's like, I'm coming for you. But he's just more quiet. Hey, how was your day? Good. I saw that your grades are good. Yeah. How's basketball? It's fine. Like that's all I get out of him. And so a few weeks back, I was like, man, I guess I don't know if our relationship's strained, or I don't know. And then like to show me that it wasn't strained at all, like he'll be like, let's go throw the football. I'm like, done. You know what I mean? Like, and we'll just go throw the football for 20 minutes and not even have to say a word to each other, except for we're just out there throwing the football. He teases me because my shoulders hurt, and he goes, how long do you need to let your shoulder warm up before you can actually throw it?
So I can't throw the football with my kids.
Yeah. Because of your shoulder?
Well, and for a long time it's hurt. So, and this is another thing I love about Cammy. Cammy will get out and throw the football with the boys.
Yeah, she will.
Which makes me feel a little bit less like a man. But like but I love that she's doing that.
But those moments, man, like I wouldn't trade it because I know that it's not going to be there's not going to be many more times.
No, and there's no monetary value you can put on those things.
Absolutely,
I think those are what people miss. Like if we're being honest, the computer stuff, the work stuff, like sometimes you have to get stuff done, right?
Absolutely.
There are situations where if you're in the middle of a serious meeting, Riley's not,
she's
can't
not
let her
breaking down the door.
Yeah. There's obviously some order to that.
Absolutely.
What you're saying is you want to value her more than the other things.
Absolutely.
So that if there's an opportunity where she's like daddy and you're not doing something that you have to be focused on, you don't want to miss that opportunity with her for the sake of some kind of like monetary gain.
Yeah. We, Hannah was a little heartbroken the other day because Riley was playing by herself and playing pretend. And Adeline walked by, and Adeline said, or Riley was like, hey, not now. I gotta get this work done. And I know. And like, so like what does suck
Who
is
said that?
Riley did. And so like, what does suck is like with Hannah's at home job, there's a lot of moments of the day where she's on the phone, and like this phone call lasts 30 seconds. And that's the 30 seconds that Riley's like, hey, and Hannah's like, if you just give me 30 seconds, like I just got to tell this person this one thing, and then we can chill. We can do that. So like, there was just and it hasn't happened in a while, but there was just a lot of those things in a row where like, that was
crap.
That was Riley's response. And Hannah was like, the last thing I want is for my daughter to be conditioned to think that like this is more important. Yeah. And it's finding the ways to communicate that. And what's cool about Riley now, like where she is like we're starting to have more of those conversations. Like she woke up the other day and she was so frightened. And what we do is we block off their hallway for the robot vacuum to go over things that way. Because when it gets to a door, it's like it just punches the door. And I was like, I don't want my daughter to wake up to that. That's scary. But she woke up and the hallway was still blocked. I hadn't moved everything yet. And she had a bad dream or something. And I didn't know this until I checked the cameras. She was up for like an hour and a half, like screaming. And like, we didn't hear her. We didn't know, like we don't have a monitor in her room anymore. And so I was outside, I was working, I don't know, I was editing something. And I got up and I heard something. I was like, and every now our daughters sound like the dogs in our neighborhood. Like every now and then I'll turn to Hannah and be like, is our daughter's crying or is that some dog somewhere? And she's like, it's a dog. And so I did hear some stuff, but I was just like, oh, it's the neighbor's dog. This is things I always hear.
You can't hear anyways.
I know, right? And so then I walked in, I heard something. I was like, let me go check on that. And then I heard mommy really distinctly. And so I dropped everything, just ran inside and just scooped her up and just held her and was just like, I'm so sorry. You're so scared. And when she calmed down, I was like, she's like, I just want to sleep in with mommy. I just want to go to mommy's bed. I was like, you're going to. I was like, well, we're just going to chill for a minute because I wanted to be like, here, Hannah, just drop you off. And so I just held her for a while. And then I asked her, I was like, do you know why we put these things here? And so I just explained to her and I just walked through her and she was like, okay. Yeah. And then she was like, but the vacuum did this. And I was like, well, I don't think the vacuum did that, but that's okay. Cause like she's half delirious as well, just middle of the night. Yeah. But anyway, I'm thankful for family. I'm thankful for Hannah and the constant love and encouragement and grace that she shows and just how she is so persistent on submitting to the Lord. And it's been really apparent this past year of just like her coming to know herself. And Micah, as you've walked through a lot here on Simpler, of just like coming to know yourself can be difficult, can be hard. And then like coming to terms of like, God, how can I use this? How can I? And so like, there's things that she's thinking like, she's just learning about, okay, this is part of who I am. How can I acknowledge that and move forward? And other things of like, okay, I can change this about who I am. I don't need to have this first response. And so kind of learning a lot of those things and seeing her humility before the Lord and is really exciting to go on that journey with her. And I'm excited about just being a husband and a father. Those were all really basic things that we walked through of like being thankful for Jesus, family, and the church. Mm-hmm. But I think that God has grown us in all of those areas so much this past year. And one of the things that I've noticed in the past, especially just since Trump is the president-elect, just so many like woke type of videos just coming out and things like that. And there was I saw this one interview with a woman where she was like, we had everything. The society expected us to be family people who loved our kids and loved our husbands and loved our households and took care of them and provided in different ways. She's like, we had it all and we spat on it and turned away and we'd rather be alone and sad. Like that's what she's talking about from a feminist perspective. Like we as feminists ran away from this great thing that we had. And now we're fighting to get back to that because we realize we don't want to be alone and sad and die by ourselves in some job we worked all the way up for. There's so much more to be had in this world. And from a gospel perspective, like how beautiful is the home that we are blessed with to image him and to love others and to be entrusted with others. And so being able to talk about our Lord, being able to talk about our community, being able to talk about our homes and just how much God has blessed us in the midst of all those things. Yeah, I'm incredibly thankful. Sorry, I rambled on for a minute there.
You're good.
Anything else?
Who else are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for Steven. The Cheeto, what was it? Just Vanilla Man.
Hot Cheeto
Vanilla Man. Right. I was about to say the Cheeto Man, and I was like, that's not right. It's the Hot Cheeto Vanilla Man. So in this Christmas season, be sure to pre-order your vanilla flavored Hot Cheetos.
Gross.
That would be insane. As always, we're at the Garden Audio. Steven's amazing. Steven cranks this out for you guys every single week, making sure that everything sounds good, making sure there's no technical issues or anything like that. So we're so thankful for him. Wherever you are, comment down below what you're thankful for, and be sure to tag on at the very end that you're thankful for Steven. Wherever you're listening or watching, be sure to subscribe. Check out the show notes where you can see if we talked about Simpler Bible earlier, go check out Simpler Bible. Check out what Micah's got going on in 2025 coming up with Eagle's Wings and teaching and all these different minutes. There's ways to get involved and plugged in and just stay in the know in the show notes. There's all of our individual social media accounts. There is the simplerpod social media accounts. So go check those out. We are thankful for you guys, and we're thankful for this podcast, being able to walk through these things that the Lord is teaching us, being able to learn, being able to be pushed, be able to grow just as individuals, and then being able to be a part of a community where we see those things happening and see conversations happening outside of the podcast. So we love you guys, and we'll catch y'all in December. Bye.